Hey, welcome back, guys. Episode 285. I managed to get us back on track somehow. Mostly by counting, I think.
No easy feat.
Gentlemen, I have some sad news to kick off this episode, if I may.
No. It's going to be a very depressing podcast talking about the Batman. And considering you have sad news to start us off. No comment.
I mean, it's not really that sad. After 44 years, though, what's left of Family Video has officially shuttered their doors. Very sad. As a longtime former sponsor of the show, there's an argument to be made that we actually were the final nail in their coffin. But
we just completely ruined them.
We collected debts. They passed go for the final time.
It wasn't the failing of physical DVDs and VHSs. It was just us that came into play.
We expedited the process. I really miss the days of my local Family Video and walking through and seeing the new releases. You know, I remember when they first moved to DVDs and I had to have a DVD player, and then they moved to Blu-rays and I had to have a Blu-ray player, and that was just where you went because you weren't going to pay. I mean, brand new, they were like $40 a pop, and there's no way you can rent it because you know you're not going to watch that much anyways for $3. I'm going to miss it. So RIP Family Video.
How did you hear about this? Was it actually it was in the news, or do you just in your downtime?
I don't keep up. I'm not a shareholder or anything like that. But
like, I wonder what's going on with Family Video.
Yeah, Elise is in the chat, and she says that actually her only Family Video purchase of all time was due to us. So
lovely.
All right. We did our best.
I will say, look who's laughing now. Blockbuster. They were down and out, and all of a sudden, Last Man Standing, still up there in Portland hipster doofus land.
Dude, did it in like 2009, or I want to say like 2017 maybe? They were saying they had profitable earnings. Do you think that's just a bunch of bullshit?
No, I actually probably did, because they turned into a holding company that was liquidating. It was basically a divestiture, and one of those asset for liquidating companies comes in and just sells everything. So technically they probably did have a profit, but it's not really sustainable.
Yeah.
Somebody dropped finance phone with Smithers. Boop.
I wish I could still do that on that. I need to sit down and figure that out. But what else is new, boys? Mark,
what about...
we had a rager yesterday. You had a rager yesterday.
Just a rager.
People running around, shitting their pants, probably some vomiting everywhere.
Yep, it was Nolan's second birthday.
Ooh,
I don't like talking about the weather on the podcast, but it was really nice weather.
Yeah, that was.
And now it's back down to like 30 degrees. Yeah. He actually vomited last night.
I called it.
Too much fun.
And honestly, it's probably because he had 1.5 Cocomelon cupcakes, and these are like normal size human cupcakes with just half a pound of sugar on top of them. And a cookie, and for whatever reason we decided to let him have it, and he didn't eat any dinner, of course. Naturally. And then in the middle of the night he just projectile vomited, thankfully all over the floor outside of his crib, not on the rug, so it was pretty easy to clean up, but in his room it just had that smell, that like I don't even know how to describe
bile.
It. Yes. So that's what we dealt with last night. Fun stuff. But it was a successful second birthday.
Exactly. Sure. Successful day. My kid is still screaming every time he sees one of the party favors. Coco! So never again will I expose him to some annoying TV show. Everything has to get vetted now. But Cocomelon makes me want to end my life. I was trying to spin that to something nicer, and I couldn't.
So we opened the presents. It was just the family, which is understandable. It was getting kind of late. And we opened presents, I want to say around like 7:00. And he, of course, had a lot of Cocomelon themed gifts. But one of them was not a life-size. Well, actually, yeah, technically with JJ, it could be a life-size JJ. It was a big JJ doll with like a plastic head. And the whole time I'm thinking, if this thing comes to life in the middle of the night and just fucking comes up to my bedside and is like, I heard you didn't let Nolan watch my show. And just fucking with a knife in its hand and just murders me.
It's
going to be
like,
the death of me.
It was like walking through yesterday, like an aviary filled with parrots who just repeat everything you say, because one of them would say Coco, and then all the rest of them, Coco, Coco.
Yeah.
Jesus. Savages.
Loco for Coco. Loco for
Rick,
Coco.
I can see your eyes glazing over. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, no, when are you guys going to start exposing them to, like, Spider-Man and Batman? Like 6 or 7, or?
I've been trying.
You've been trying? They're just
The
not
Spider-Man
interested?
show that's out there for kids sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is pretty bad.
Is it worse than Cocomelon?
No.
No, but Cocomelon will get him to sit down and chill for a minute, whereas the rest of them, no chance. He'll kind of like run by and stare at it, but it won't get him to sit down and focus.
Gotcha.
Basically,
Yep,
he needs
okay,
a
so-
straitjacket.
Right. And you're like, fine, I'll put on the insanity that they call Cocomelon if you just shut the hell up.
I'm making a
Exactly.
serious guess that by the year 2040, JJ will be the president of the United States just because he's indoctrinated an entire generation of youths.
Hopefully the teacher is his vice president. She is fun.
Wow, Mark's got it from Mrs. Appleberry. Miss Appleberry, sorry.
Come on, Miss
Ooh.
Appleberry.
There ain't no Mr. Appleberry.
Yeah, Brick, can you please make this more of an adult conversation? And Joe's in the
I
chat.
think-
No, this is not a robe; it's a collared shirt. Sorry.
I think we were requested to figure out what the hell NFTs were. Mission not accomplished.
Do we really want to?
Non-fungible token.
Right.
It's essentially the way I think about it, it's a image on the computer, but it has like all this code behind it, and you have technically the only one. And yes, you can screenshot it, and I have, looking at it, the same thing that you have. But if you want, people are saying like we'll eventually use them for like the metaverse. Maybe you'll get some type of access to something if you have certain NFTs. And the way you verify that NFT would not be because of just the image. It would be because of the code that's, I guess, behind the image or integrated within the image. Am I kind of right, Smithers?
Don't you get into like certain discords with like actual celebrities that are in that same kind of? I think I saw some of them offered that where you're in a specific discord with celebrities that, you know,
Celebrities. If you
which
want to
I
call
don't know.
Gary via celebrity, sure. It's a way to launder money. It's a way to create value out of nothing, so you can create scarcity for things that no one needs. It's bad for the environment because it's built on the blockchain. The blockchain's not efficient enough to support that type of thing yet. But that's essentially what Mark's talking about with being able to prove that you have the original copy, is you have to have the code behind it that is on the blockchain ledger. And
so for any resale value, you need the blockchain, but it's basically virtual Pokemon cards without the
Yes.
game involved.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
That
less
helps.
fun, much dumber,
less fun.
and killing the planet.
I also think like it's kind of like the sports card hype. I think about it that way a little bit, where everyone wants the 1 out of 1, Justin Fields rookie card, let's say. But everyone is buying these packs, or everyone's buying, like people are buying the base cards and thinking like, oh, I have an NFT
chance.
now. but they're buying these NFTs that are basically worthless just to say they have an NFT, where realistically the ones that might end up being worth something, most likely you're not going to have a chance to buy it. And if you do have a chance to buy it, it's going to cost you a hefty amount of money, which will prevent you from buying it.
It's another revenue stream for companies like AMC and GameStop. They just make shit up and say it's manufactured scarcity, just like baseball cards, Pokemon cards, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, for some reason there's a market for this because everyone thinks they can get rich off of it. And some people do, like Gary Vee, who he bills himself as an artist now. The guy's infuriating to me. And Mark, I know you've heard my spiel before. I won't do the whole thing, but he's the guy who's driving people to this thing and saying, like, if you hustle like I did, you'll get rich. When in reality, he's hustling you to get your money in an industry like he helped to bring back baseball cards. He was a big part of that. Mark, am I crazy saying that?
Yeah, football cards, baseball cards, sports cards.
So he's one of the big reasons behind it, and obviously that's been massively profitable for him because he was able to say, look at me, I got rich doing this, but he's in turn getting rich off of you because you're going and buying these cards and driving up the prices on them. So yeah, it's a snake eating itself and shitting itself out at the same time. Is that a good explanation?
Yeah, I think also people trust him right now because he is actually he is right in a lot of his predictions, even though he's driving those predictions to come to fruition. But he's also offering these things like buy my NFTs, and they're actually going up in value. So people are clamoring to get these things, not saying they're going to stay valuable, but he's obviously making a shit ton of money off of doing this.
When he's literally the artist behind this, and he is not a good artist. Like he tweets his shit out all the time. I'm just like, that is a child's drawing, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but don't waste your time.
Just comparing it side by side to a Nolan drawing. This is the same thing.
I'd much rather buy sports cards than NFTs. Way more fun to physically pull cards out of a pack and be like, okay, I wasted $40, but that was kind of fun for 2 minutes.
Well, not just that, but like it's players that you like, that you want to support, and they go do things as opposed to, what is it? The Bored Ape is the one that I see a ton of. It means nothing. It's just a style of art, which is great. Digital art is fun, but you're not gonna hoodwink me on that. So we should probably stick to what we actually know.
Let's get into the news, maybe.
Yeah.
News to us.
A little bit lighter on news this week, but that's good because we have plenty of time to talk about the Batman. So Judd Apatow is releasing another movie that looks really funny, but it seems like he wants us to feel bad for actors because they had different rules and regulations while they were making movies during COVID. It still looks funny. I'm going to watch it, but what?
I kind of love the concept of it. It's called The Bubble, and it's about actors making a sequel, the 6th iteration of Cliff Beasts. So it's going
Cliff Beast, right? Like that's the character's name, I think.
It says
it's Keegan-Michael Key.
6.
Okay, my bad. But
either way, it doesn't really matter. It's just about actors, and then I feel like it's going to be more or less kind of like a blooper reel within a movie to a certain degree. Because I love blooper reels, but they're going to kind of have those behind-the-scene antics that you're going to film, but it's going to be taken. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like it could be a blooper reel with a sideline story, like kind of moving throughout about the bubble and not being able to do. There's certain restrictions and how stupid things were during the bubble when they were trying to make film and trying to make content. That's why no one made anything for
it's Tropic Thunder without actually going to the whatever they were in.
Jungle. Like, Vietnam.
Was it Vietnam? Okay. Yeah, I get what you mean. It just I listened to a lot of interviews, but he was on Smartless with Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and Sean Hayes, and he was talking about how basically what you just said, it was so dumb making movies during this, but they had to do it. And he talked about actually releasing King of Staten Island, which I thought was pretty damn good, but
I loved it.
he knew that it wasn't going to make any money releasing it, when it came out, which it really didn't. But he was like, what's the point of making something like this and just sitting on it? So I actually kind of appreciated that.
Definitely, especially when a year where there was literally everybody was pushing back movies for theatrical releases, and when that happens, it just felt like there wasn't going to be where do you squeeze it in there and kind of try and make money. Yeah, no, it was a dark time.
It was a dark time.
But I love the cast for this.
Yes.
Did you appreciate the guy turning into Benedict Cumberbatch, Smithers?
He really did too. He made me believe.
Stop being Benedict Cumberbatch. Those are actually pretty hilarious.
So, Mark, what are your thoughts on this? You seem to be. I think it's kind of like a pity party type thing. Brick is coming from the other side. Where are you landing?
I'm kind of in between. I can see that perspective, but I don't know. I like Keegan-Michael Key in this. I think he'll bring something more to it. If he wasn't in it, I probably wouldn't have been as interested. But it's a Netflix movie, so I'll watch it.
Yeah, this is coming April 1st, right? Wait, is this an April Fool's joke?
I mean, what would they do with April Fools? Just be like, it's not coming out.
Yeah, that's true. It's a comedy released on April Fool's Day. That kind of makes sense.
I suppose. What day of the week is that? Let me check my calendar. That's funny. It's a Friday. That makes sense. Never mind. Not as interesting as I thought.
Well, yeah, Karen Gillan, Pedro Pascal, Leslie Mann, Fred Armisen, Keegan-Michael Key, David Duchovny, Iris Appatow, Guz Khan, and Maria Bakalova. I like the cast. I think it's going to be good.
I like that Leslie Mann's in this. I haven't seen Leslie Mann in anything since maybe, this is 40? 2012, I feel like.
No, she's been in stuff since then.
Yeah, she has. But she's married to Appatow. She does everything that he's...
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, didn't do King of Staten Island, but...
Which is fun that they get to do that, to be honest. They're a fun couple.
Oh, she was in Blockers with Cena. Forgot.
Wow. I forgot about that movie, too. We really need a good comedy.
I think everyone did.
Okay.
I think that's also why I'm happy this is coming out, because it is a comedy. Just don't see many comedies coming out like recently.
Nothing memorable, nothing quotable. I miss the Anchorman
2010. 2000 to 2010 was just the comedy gold era.
Well, even before that, you had Happy Gilmore and all that shit, all those endlessly quotable movies, and I feel like we just don't have that anymore. Now the funniest stuff is YouTube videos
Internet
where
videos.
Idiots just yell like "bing bang."
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Your boy Chris Pine's doing another movie. This time it's with Thandie Newton. All the Old Knives. This is just another whatever law enforcement. How many of these movies do we get on a weekly basis?
Right. Yeah. This one I'm not as hyped about. I mean, it's coming to Amazon Prime April 8th. All the Old Knives. It just felt like Chris Pine is like investigating the Turkish flight that got captured or like hijacked. And then at the end, it just like turns out he's just like this big conflict of interest because he dated Thandie Newton.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know if this movie premise feels right to me. Like it's going to be a good twist when immediately there's just red flags to it. So I don't know.
Like maybe they gave away the big twist with a really obvious foreshadowing in the trailer. And if I end up being right on it, I'm going to be really mad because
Let's hear your theory.
Well, at one point, Chris Pine looks at Thandie Newton and goes, "Yeah, I was cleared of all investigations of this." Well, and then she looks at him like, "What the fuck?" So it's obviously he's doing some kind of cover-up bullshit. If it ends up being that, I'm going to be really upset.
I don't know how he got cleared, and then clearly they were friends and lovers before that, which they explain in the trailer too. I don't know.
Didn't the Batman teach you anything? All these government officials and law enforcement, they're all crooked.
They're corrupt.
I think what's going to happen is, all right, so Thandie Newton is being suspected of being a double agent, and it's going to be one of those things where Pine is kind of believing the CIA, like, hey, you need to investigate into this. I know you had this love affair with her, whatever. And I think there's going to be a small segment of the CIA that actually committed this terrorist attack and like blew up the plane or whatever we saw in the trailer. I think that's what's going to happen. And Chris Pine and Thandie Newton are going to get to the bottom of it towards the end. There's going to be one guy that like, you know, tries to put a hit out on them or something. I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't look.
Yeah, but it's going to be Chris Pine. Chris Pine was involved. That's my point.
Oh, I think Chris Pine is going to have he's not going to know what's going on half the time. He's going to, I don't know. I think he's going to he's going to trust the CIA, but there's going to be this part of the CIA that's like, hey, we can't have him know this. We just need to kind of put the blame on Thandie Newton.
I think you're mixing up the two trailers that you saw with Chris Pine. Because in the first trailer, he literally is questioning the CIA. He's like, I'm not going to do the drop. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you might be right.
Hey, I have an idea, though. Sorry.
Let's hear it.
Thandie Newton. So I think we can all agree that Westworld season 3 was shit, and we're not really looking forward to anything coming from a season 4 with that show. I think they should do a spinoff with Thandie Newton, like her character in Westworld. Maybe like an early Thandie Newton, or like when they developed her and kind of her experiences there. I think that would be interesting.
Maybe if you did a then and now, how they first developed her to how she's trying to take over the outside world. As a
if they wait any longer, they might have to go through how those replicants age.
Right? Yeah. Good job.
How long has it been since season 1 of Westworld now?
Been a minute.
Yes.
It's been at least 7 years.
Yeah.
So. All time. I love that intro. Intro's good.
Ramin Djawadi is the composer. Jesus, my brain just completely froze.
It's also impressive that you just knew that guy's name off the cuff. The composer of the Westworld intro.
He does a lot of HBO stuff, and now he's getting a lot more play in movies. So that's why I've been paying attention to it. Something we saw recently had it. It'll come to me. But Bullet Train is the last trailer here, and it's Brad Pitt on a bullet train.
Hang on. Smithers is the kind of guy who goes to a movie and then watches all the credits and reads all the names. Because how else would you know that guy?
How would you? Okay, first of all, he was a big part of Game of Thrones and Westworld as far as the music goes. So I would think that you would know.
I mean, you looked up the composer. I mean, it's not a bash. It's impressive that you just retain that information.
I would argue that a lot of film nerds would probably know his name too.
Yeah, I'm an idiot anyway. So, anyway, please go forward.
Brad Pitt is under attack from 13 assassins for completely unknown reasons. This is a weird movie for Brad Pitt to do.
I agree.
I'm kind of pumped because it's from the director of the Deadpool series, maybe Deadpool 1 or 2.
David Leitch.
And I like Brad Pitt as like kind of a dry humor kind of guy. I think he actually hits that pretty nicely. I loved him in the Hollywood movie, and in Deadpool. Yeah, actually, and
showed
in
up for 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I just think he does dry humor really well, and I think
that's just who he is. I think that he's been forced to act cool for so long that he just does. That's just him now. He doesn't know any other way.
Exactly.
Can he not act cool? Like, even if he wasn't acting cool, he's still cool just the way he looks.
Yeah,
like,
because
with that hair,
if he's acting uncool, then you're like, oh, that guy doesn't care what people think of him, which makes him even cooler.
He's super cool.
It's fucking unfair.
He's in a cool paradox of always being cool, no matter what he does now. It's official. He's just the coolest guy ever.
He's probably the biggest dork. Like, the personality of a fucking
and
kale
that
salad.
Fucking makes him cool too.
So I don't think I totally followed the premise of this. Was he an assassin that is not trying to be an assassin anymore? I know there was a part where like he's like, I know you don't have a gun or whatever. He was clearly not wanting to use a gun and pretending like he had a gun.
That's exactly what it is. He was an assassin. Now he's trying to get out of the business. His handler, I believe, is Sandy Bullock. Another weird casting there. But this is in Tokyo. Once he's aboard, he discovers that all these other assassins are there trying to kill him.
The nice thing too about this is the action sequences can be, because it's on a train, you can just kind of narrow down some of the action sequences to like this real close combat, like the best scenes are like on buses from movies and stuff like that.
Ever since
like,
that
action movies.
Daredevil
It's all
hallway
tight.
scene, everybody's been trying to replicate that entirely, and this is a good way to do it. And obviously, you did like Train to Busan, which was this premise but zombies, so it's a good setting. And then Liam Neeson got taken on a train. Remember?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's anything with a tight, narrow. You can get that claustrophobic feel just from the setting itself. So I kind of like that. In 13 Assassins on a Train, you get me Brad Pitt. I'm in for it. Fuck it.
I'm with you. It's got a hell of a cast too. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry's in there, Sandy Bullock, Zazie Beetz. Talking about Deadpool, obviously there's the connection there between Leech and Zazie Beetz on Deadpool.
And Brad Pitt.
Hiroyuki Sanada from 47 Ronin, and he was in the Mortal Kombat movie.
I want him to star as the uncle from Ghost of Tsushima. They'd be a fucking awesome movie, by the way, or series. He'd be fantastic as the uncle. Ooh, anybody who played knows.
I would say that's very like typecasty, but at the same time, he has literally like, from what I know him in, he's pretty much played a samurai type character in every movie. So that would work because he was in The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, 47 Ronin, like I mentioned, Mortal Kombat, where I mean that was kind of like a samurai type feel, and I think he was in Rush Hour as well. But yeah, I need to play that game still.
That's a game
about it.
Yeah, I would highly, highly, highly recommend. We'll on recommendations soon.
I also just realized Antoine Fuqua's attached this from Training Day fame. So there you go. I'm slowly talking myself into this. July 15th coming in theaters, which they were very proud to let you know. I don't think that celebrities, actors in particular, actors and actresses, seem to understand that that's not a flex. Like, that's not something to be proud of. Most of the time I see that, I'm like, well, fuck, now I gotta go to the movie theater.
Only in theaters. Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like that's them trying to flex, and it's just like...
Oh, great, I gotta spend $20 on popcorn.
Exactly. Dude, when Jason posted that Batman cowl half full of popcorn in the Discord for $30, I about lost my goddamn mind. And AMC is out of their goddamn minds, thinking they can charge premium pricing for this. Unfucking real.
What do you think the margin was on that Batman cowl popcorn thing?
99%.
All right. Well, you got to think. Okay, so obviously you're buying it because, yeah, I know. Just this, it had to. Okay, so it was $30. I would assume what it was. It had to have been 82 cents, not even, maybe like 50 cents to make.
Yeah,
including the popcorn, with the popcorn kernels.
It doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about it anymore, Ed.
Finance fun.
Smithers.
All right, let's keep going on some news. Did you guys see how quickly the internet turned on Anthony Starr, aka Homelander?
No, I saw it, but I didn't dive into it. What happened?
Apparently, he punched a chef in Spain. So he was there with Guy Ritchie working on a movie. And the punch, like, yeah, that's bad enough. But apparently what he said to this chef was, you don't know who you've messed with. You don't know who I am and what you've done. You've committed the mistake of your life, and I'm going to look for you. I want to kill you.
What kind of threat is like, imagine saying to somebody like, you don't know what you've done, and then fucking punching somebody. What is this?
That him doing that just makes me want to see the next season of Homelander.
He's method acting, apparently.
Yeah, I would imagine if he tried to dodge a lawsuit for that, just pretending to method act. It'd be glorious. But yeah, what an insane psycho! Where we created a real Homelander from the boys, the Superman type figure who tries to murder everybody.
What do you think the douchiest thing possible to say is? Because I would argue that "Do you know who I am?" is up there.
Oh, it's a top tier douchey thing to say. Besides, do you know who my father is?
Ooh, yeah, that one wins.
Do you know what you've done?
Yeah, that one definitely wins. Anyways, this was a dick move.
You guys need to Google Anthony Starr and look at all of his headshots. He just seems like a complete asshole, though, or just like a psychopath. every shot of him, he's smiling like this, like really trying to put on like a closed mouth smile, but he's just peering directly through your soul as well. Every single photo,
really well
he's
cast.
like really trying to hide his psychotic side.
Damn, we need to do put on the draft board asshole characters.
Professional assholes, yeah.
Professional asshole characters. And just put a bunch of assholes up there. Like fucking Martell from like The Replacements. The shitty quarterback, you know, douche. Like you could do it. There's so many sports movies. I'm sure that you can get just all-time assholes.
Hell yeah. All right. Let's keep going here. We'll get to... no, I'll hold on to that. Jason Momoa has confirmed that he's going to play the villain in the upcoming Fast and Furious 10, which I must remind you is a two-parter. So we're going to get 10 and 10 and a half.
Who's he? Wow. Amazing. Hilarious.
You got it. You can't just start doing numbers right off the bat. You got to start breaking it into halves, maybe quarters eventually.
So this is the first split movie for the franchise, right?
And this will supposedly wrap up the Dom Toretto storyline.
Wow. Okay. So does Dom Toretto meet an even more badass supercar guy who
destroys the universe, and that's why they don't keep making movies? I want to see them shave Jason Momoa bald and make him shave his beard, and he just like stands face to face with Dom Toretto.
Who is Jason Momoa's character? Who do we think?
He's got to be some relative of The Rock somehow. We've already established that, I think.
That's probably probably the safe bet if you're going to be a betting man.
I think he's literally just going to be Aquaman.
And then, so then they get to kill Dom because Dom turned himself into a super villain at some point because he was originally just a street racer, right?
Dom falls in love with a fish, but it's the fish that Jason Momoa has been fucking.
Ooh.
So it's a love triangle with a fish involved. We'll call it a marlin.
I would go dolphin because they're very smart, and they'll also fuck you back, I think.
Elise in the chat says Jason Momoa is the owner of an electric car company trying to take away Dom's muscle cars. That's just Elon Musk.
Are we ever going to get a Fast and Furious villain that's not really, really good looking? Are they just going to keep upping the amount of good looking people that take on these roles as villains?
Why would you get an ugly one?
I mean, it is Fast and Furious.
Do you want like Danny Trejo out there? Ray Liotta?
That would actually not be bad, but yeah, they're not going to do it.
I'm all in for the electrical cars, trying to stomp out the muscle car industry. Just go back to basics with it.
I love the idea that Dom would be like, I ain't driving no Tesla.
Absolutely.
How much do you want to bet he has a cliffside scene, Momoa, where he's hanging and showing off his rock climbing skills?
Is that a thing? He climbs
climbs
rocks?
Yep.
That's his fucking villain origin story. Is Tesla and them are trying to save the Earth from the global pandemic, which is the actual weather that's going to just erode the entire ozone layer. So instead of saving the Earth, he lets all the muscle cars get rid of that cloud, get rid of the ozone, and he's like,
a natural pandemic. I like it, Brick. A natural pandemic.
You're going to ruin the world with all those muscle cars. That's not a world I want to live in. Explodes
everything. Gas.
Explodes everything. Yeah. Just a super car engine that takes out the ozone layer.
The next time you're up close to a Tesla, take a look at how badly the body panels all line up and how crooked everything on the car is. Those cars are so shittily made. It's bad. And they sell them at such ridiculous markup. And I know that it's good. They're electric and all that. It's just, yeah, do better.
So you're saying Team Dom. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, I will always be a part of the family.
The family.
All right. And finally, an I Am Legend sequel is coming, starring Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan. Is Will Smith a ghost in this movie? Did anybody remember how the first one ended with him exploding?
Oh, honestly, he lived for sure.
It's so funny. I don't remember his death, but I definitely remember Samantha's death. but I just don't remember if Will Smith made it out or not. I thought he.
Well, that didn't matter. As soon as the dog died, nothing else mattered in that movie.
It's true too.
You
felt
can
numb
save
afterwards.
humanity, I guess, but it's too late. You already ruined the best part of life.
They're
I'm-
going
Michael B.
to.
Jordan. I'm fine with it.
They're going to pick. Sorry, go ahead, Brick.
No, you got it.
No, I was just going to say they're going to pick up right after number 1, where it's going to show that scene where he's kind of blocked off from all the zombies in that little tiny room. And out of the frame is going to be some type of escape. Like
A door that magically was appearing now.
That's all they have to do, though. But honestly, would you think like he would have created this bunker where he was like, if this happens, I'm going to lock myself in here? And
He didn't create that bunker.
Oh, he didn't, did he?
He goes to that camp for the first time, and that's his first time
Oh,
there.
he does. He does. I thought that was his bunker. Fuck. But still,
So it is.
there's going
it
to
is
be an escape that he
plausible
finds.
could just like
yeah.
move a cabinet, and there's a secret door back there.
They're
They're gonna have
why
to
is
figure-
there this weird rug and just pull in the rug and there's going to be a fucking door.
Will Smith is sort of like Ben Affleck in that he has to control the narrative of his character in the movie. So like he's kind of the Mary Sue all the time. Remember when he did Gemini, where he was like, the only thing that can stop me is me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just kind of my impression of him at this point.
Same thing with Hancock. He was the most powerful superhero that just needed to figure out who he wanted to be.
Yeah.
There was nobody that could stop him. He was his own enemy.
That is Apex. Apex Will Smith is Gemini. I am Apex Human. Fight myself. Love that. Has Tom Cruise ever done that? I feel like Tom Cruise has done that.
I can't think of an instance of that.
Okay.
I was going to say, imagine him and Tom Cruise in a movie together.
It wouldn't work, even though they're both, they see each other when they run into church on Sundays or whatever day Scientologists go to church. But it wouldn't work. They wouldn't be able to. They'd just both be trying to steal each scene that they were in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on, boys, to our recommendations.
Here's some money. Go see a Star Wars.
Brick, you sounded excited about this earlier. Why don't you go ahead and kick this off?
Oh, I started playing New Horizon, that PlayStation 5 exclusive with the red-haired warrior woman who is in the jungle and whatnot.
Mm.
I don't know how I feel about it too early on. I'm 2 hours in, and it just seems like there's a lot of climbing, and the climbing's a little chunky, in my opinion. It could be a little smoother. The gameplay is the gameplay can be fun. I could see it evolving into, I guess, good combat, but the combat's kind of scarce because they do so many climbing elements, and it just feels like a PlayStation 4 port. When you feel like The Last of Us 2, or when Uncharted 4 came out for the new PlayStation, you wanted it to be next gen, and the graphics are beautiful, but it feel like it's just so detailed in the graphics that it actually is distracting to a certain degree. There's just so much jungle, and there's I don't know, just kind of maybe once I get a little bit further in, it opens up and the open world is awesome. But right now I've been playing a linear story for 2 hours, and I don't know, it just hasn't caught me the way Ratchet and Clank did, the way Ghost of Tsushima did. They just seemed cluttered and bulky, and so that's my kind of recommendation. If you liked it, maybe you'll like the other one. Apparently the first one had a lot of climbing involved, but the climbing's clunky and it's somewhat distracting. It's hard to find where to actually climb.
That's weird. Just call the people who made Uncharted and be like, yo, how did you make your climbing mechanic work? Because that's perfect.
Uncharted was getting to that point where it was a little bulky, too chunky too, though. And it's just
there's more climbing than I would like for there to be in that game.
Exactly. That's what you want to get more towards the action and the shooting, and the fighting should be the fun part of the game. Not oh, okay, I got a platform here, I got to do this, and it's a 70-hour game because 50 hours of it are you climbing bullshit. Who cares?
I guess. But Pokemon, which I've been playing in whatever free time I have, is just walking around looking for shit. It's the same kind of
Yeah,
thing.
but it's fun to go looking for the different creatures. It's a fun, simple mechanic that you're trying to turn your brain off. This is a RPG where you have to be so involved in it that you have to be looking through Like there's just so much detail, it's just overwhelming. I don't know.
That's fair. I guess I can go back to the boys talk since we were talking about Anthony Starr. I started watching Diabolical, which came out on Friday.
Oh crap!
So it's good. It's like we talked about, adult animation, very violent, sometimes to the point where it feels like they're doing it just to be a little edgy, and it gets a little cringy, but it's still good enough and funny enough that it's worth the watch. They don't always get the voice actors that you want. You know, like I'm thinking the Homelander voice was not Homelander. Billy Butcher's not there. So take that for what it's worth. I've seen 3 episodes to this point, and I think the best one so far is the Pusher, the drug dealer one, which if you get to it, you'll know it. It's fucking wild. So it's everything you've come to expect from the ridiculous side of the boys. And I know that Garth Ennis wrote some of these stories. Some of them are directly pulled from the comics. I haven't read them, but obviously I've read about that. So definitely check that out. It's on Amazon Prime now. I think there are 10 episodes. Some of them are longer than others, but it's very much Love, Death, and Robots, where 10 minutes to 20 minutes max.
Anthology type. Nothing flows together. It's different thing.
They might connect something together. I don't know, but this is just kind of like quick side stories.
Do you know who directed the episode you really like?
I know that it was a Garth Ennis story.
Okay.
And the guy's name was on screen, and it's not coming to me. So, Brick, I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
I don't have that photographic memory of credits.
Bummer.
Mark, what you got?
I'm gonna say JeenYus, a Kanye trilogy that's on Netflix. Oh man, Smithers is open arms.
Fucking
I
ass.
I was all right. So your hate for not okay. I guess
I
it
have
could be
disdain
hate
for him.
Smithers. Disdain for Kanye, which is understandable from a lot of things that we've seen in the last few years. But what I really appreciated was the amount of footage his friend had that did this documentary, especially from his early years as being a really successful young music producer in Chicago. And that's what kicked him off. And people kind of counted him out and said, you can't be a rapper. You're a producer. Make me a song. Like, I need the song. Don't try to rap on it. And he was saving the best songs that he produced for his own raps. And he was telling people, like, I'm going to be this big, and nobody really believed him. They were counting him out.
Should believe that, because every rapper says that at some point, and obviously not all of them get to be the biggest rapper ever.
Yeah, but you could just see from his early days, I'll call it, how creative this man was, how influential on Chicago music and just rap in general he became. And I just think it's interesting seeing all this footage, especially the early stuff. And there are 3 1.5 to 2 hours, I'll say, episodes. So if anything, watch the first one. You might be intrigued enough to watch the second episode. But the first one it's cool to see, all this footage that I haven't seen before. And I feel like, growing up and listening to Kanye, I was always looking for his live concerts and footage from his performances when he was doing like late registration and those types of things. So it definitely is a series or a small trilogy of episodes that I would recommend watching.
So we have an actual Kanye West expert.
What'd you think, Christy?
Here.
Yeah, so to go off of what Mark said, I mean, the first episode was absolutely incredible. I'm like the biggest Kanye fan of all time. So
did you buy the Donda machine?
No, I got my ways to listen to that. But
yeah, literally, it's called the internet. It's called YouTube.
Exactly. But no, it was just incredible because that was like the time where I really started getting into Chicago rap, and I'll never forget buying that CD at O'Hare, the College Dropout CD, like before we were going on a family vacation. I begged my mom to buy it for me, and she did. And that was like seeing all the footage, like Mark said, because like the early years of Kanye, and like you don't really get those shots of him at like the House of Blues or like Chicago Theater doing those local shows, and like and how much he really, really, really loved Chicago. I mean, later Kanye, like current Kanye, you barely hear the love for the city and all that.
I'm okay distancing him from Chicago connections at this point.
Yeah,
I think one of my favorite parts though was when they were diving into the Through the Wire music video. And I want to say the majority of people have heard that song, recognize that song, but don't know the background of that song and how he was in the accident, broke his jaw, and was in this terrible crash, and actually rapped that song with his mouth wired shut. And when you go back and re-listen, if you don't know that, you might have not noticed that at first. You might have just been like, oh, he kind of sounds a little bit different, but you can really hear it when listening to that song if you didn't know that he was rapping like this. His mouth was wired shut, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the scenes behind that were just so good, and like it was just so funny, his interaction with like the dentist and stuff. But the first 2 episodes were like incredible, like really, really good for like the true fan. The third,
if you like the
one
old
was,
Kanye.
Yeah, the third one was like whatever. It was kind of just like a wrap up. I don't think they had as much footage and whatnot, but yeah, I'll hand it over to Bercotto
Hang
here.
on,
But
before you go, did you see the Batman?
I did.
30-second review.
30-second review of the Batman. I'll start by saying it was long.
Correct.
Could have been shorter. I thought I mean, I like Zoe Kravitz, but that's just from she doesn't even need to be acting. So
Just from a physical standpoint.
Yeah. No, it was good. I just thought it was very long, and there wasn't like as much. I wanted more action. I don't know. I wanted to be more badass, but there were some pretty good cutscenes, like with the machine guns and whatnot, like when he was like in that tunnel where it was like dark
Muzzle
and then
flash.
light. Yeah, that was really cool. There was like that subtle, like corny humor, which I appreciated because I feel like that's just like a classic. The Penguin was like perfect. I thought he was a great character. So I mean, I liked it. I didn't say like I loved it, but I didn't hate it.
Running
Yeah, so.
long over your 30 seconds.
Okay,
like that
fair.
was, so get the
All
fuck
right,
out.
wrap.
Sounds
yeah,
like you loved it.
up,
Going on more
wrap
than
up the
30 seconds.
music.
Wrap it
Thanks,
up,
Krisky.
baby.
Love you,
All
dog.
right.
Krisky, the man,
Oh,
the myth, the legend. Thank you for stopping in on such short notice.
the other thing I started watching was Murderville, and the first the Conan O'Brien episode was brilliant because he's brilliant, and I watched Marshawn. Marshawn is so much funnier on that than I thought he had any capability of being. It seems like he's been working on his timing and his he came in ready to improv, which I did not expect.
I expected Marshawn to be great just because he's such a funny character in real life. He's just like he says things just in a comedic way, just like be just himself. He just like is enjoyable and just like kind of goes with the flow so naturally that I was just like, this guy's gonna be good at improv because he's chilling.
Yeah, but I just feel like the reasons he's funny are so much different than the reasons why you would be good at improv, and I'm really impressed that he pulled it off so well because he truly did.
Surprisingly, you actually should watch that show in chronological order too.
We did so far, so I didn't skip around.
We did make the mistake of skipping around. It wasn't like a big deal or anything like that, but it should go in chronological order, surprisingly, with the way that it's kind of laid out.
Okay, good note. Thank you. Okay, we'll get started here on our draft. I am hopeful that you clowns can bring some competition this week because I think that's 3 straight that I've won. I guess technically Joe won a draft in there, but he doesn't count.
You guys tied for iconic rivalries, though.
Yeah, but
Right.
a win's a win. Anyways, I'm going to pick the order here. I will not go first. I will actually go third, and I'm going to make Brick go first because I know Mark doesn't have a steal. And Mark, you can go second.
Strategy.
So you can just
Son of a
you can take
bitch.
the obvious layup, Brick. Anything we want to talk about before we do this? It's any kind of wrap up on last week's draft. I feel like there were some obvious ones that we missed.
Do we want to begin so the majority of the time we draft these based off of the theme because of the movie we watched.
Yep.
I mean, it's up to you guys, but I feel like we typically don't use examples from the movie. Like, this is a good example. Can we use villains from the Batman movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you want to? Okay.
I don't see any reason not to. I think it's
Yeah.
a bad
No.
move.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Since
sure.
a lot of people haven't seen it yet.
That and yeah, pretty much. Like you have to remember that you're trying to appeal to a wide audience, and if people haven't seen it, then
Okay.
that's on you.
Okay.
People got really mad that we didn't pick Eagly last week for our animal sidekicks.
See, so
Same.
that one was because I used that as an example in the chat. When you kind of use one as an example, usually you don't. I don't know.
I think it's the same
just
kind of
don't
thing
use
where
it.
he hasn't been in enough yet, and enough people haven't seen it that it wasn't going to get the wide appeal.
That's true too. But he was a big miss.
Absolutely. He's a great animal sidekick, just not Mount Rushmore worthy, I guess.
It was funny that our whole Discord pretty much agreed that Brick had the biggest draft botch so far with last week's draft.
I made my arguments.
I've made my peace.
All right, so as we discussed,
Move
this is
on.
going to be a Batman-related draft, and we are going to do our draft of live-action Batman villain portrayals. So I think that we've covered this to the point that we're not going to have to argue about it. Who fucking knows? We'll say, like, if obviously there have been multiple portrayals of Bane, for example. So if you wanted to take the one where he puts on the funny chauffeur hat and drives around Poison Ivy in a limo, then feel free.
Right.
So
And then what's the steal rule now?
you get one per season. So you and I still have ours. Mark
It
will
has to
not
be-
have one.
It has to be in round 2. You can't, like, at the end be like, oh, I want to go back to Smithers' first pick and take that.
Right, but once it's stolen, you can't steal again, right?
No stealsies,
Correct.
backsies.
Okay.
Yes and no. You guys both have a steal. Smithers can't steal his back, but if he wants to steal one later on, that doesn't affect maybe the one you just stole, Smithers or Brick.
Let's just worry about it if it comes up.
Yes.
All right, Brick, 1-1 off the board. Who you got?
I am gonna go the Danny DeVito Penguin.
Okay. Interesting. But sure. I really thought I could get that in
Thank
a
you,
later
Brick.
round. Obviously,
Thank
you
you,
knew that.
Brick.
You knew you were trying to get me to steal that one because of my love for Danny DeVito. You son of a bitch. All right, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go ahead and write yours down, anyways. It's this is
Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg.
I was gonna say
Confirmed. Confirmed. He said it.
Shut up.
He confirmed it. He said it.
Lex. I think he actually called him Sex Luthor.
Very sexy Luthor.
Yeah.
Heath
You gotta think
Ledger
for bald
Joker.
guys. Yeah, obviously, dummy. Brick, I kind of set you up to fucking bone him there. You weren't thinking about that? You are so bitter towards me that you needed to fuck me up on that.
We're working together now. You can't just win 2 in a row and think it's going to continue.
But we weren't.
I won 3 in a row.
We
but-
weren't colluding. If you're Mr.
Wow.
Cheater over here,
Who's Mr. Cheater over here?
we're not
Were
colluding.
you going Mr. Cheater over here and pointing a thumb at yourself?
No, because you never established any rules.
My God, fuck off. All right, my next pick, or my next 2 picks, I'm going to go with Tom Hardy Bane. It's very
who-
quotable.
Who did Mark pick?
Heath
Heath
Ledger.
Ledger Joker.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna steal Heath Ledger Joker.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, now I get to pick
Yeah.
because technically he
You
should have
both
done
have
that before you
royally
picked.
fucked this up so bad.
Go ahead.
hold
Whatever.
on.
Just fucking go.
Okay. I am going to pick Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Okay. Does my pick count then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have Tom Hardy Bane.
Yes, I do. Tom Hardy Bane, and I am going to take Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mr. Freeze.
As-
Okay.
Yes. Victor Freeze.
You're Your technique on this one is a lot different.
Why?
I don't know. I think I kind of am thinking like, all right, what was an actual good movie? And a lot of people really don't like Dark Knight Rises, even though yes, Tom Hardy has a lot of memorable quotes, and that is Bane. And people,
It's not about whether
whatever.
you like the movie,
ahead.
though.
I know, but I think that influences people liking certain villains.
Yeah, but I mean, do you remember the Halloween where the trailers came out for this movie and literally every dude wanted to be Bane for Halloween just because he was such a badass holding his fucking vest up here. Tom Hardy with his wide neck and his big ass shoulders. Like that is an iconic character.
You merely adopted the dog.
Everyone was
Exactly.
eating.
Everyone
just eating flaming hot Cheetos to put on 40 pounds so they could be Bane, but they were also just kind of just flub gubs.
Yeah, I would argue that
was apex Tom Hardy right there.
Yeah, I would argue that after the Heath Ledger Joker, he's the best on-screen villain portrayal in a Batman movie. But we're going back. Mark, it's your turn.
Right. He only has the Jack Nicholson Joker.
Yep.
I'm going to go Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer.
All right. Sure, she was weird, efficiently weird. Was that the first instance
was really
of
weird.
super nerdy person turns evil supervillain on the big screen?
It might have been.
You know what
You
I'm
might be
talking
right
about?
on
Like
that.
the
I know
Jamie
exactly what you're
Foxx,
talking about.
the
The
Iron Man
Wonder
3,
Woman 2, Cheetah,
all of them.
whatever.
All of them.
Whatever her name was. Yeah.
Okay. So, Brick, you've got one pick here because you already stole one. So that was your second pick.
Correct.
Brick.
I think I'm going to go with, gosh darn it, I don't know which one I want to go with. I think I'm going to go with this Colin Farrell's Cobblepot.
Okay. I think we'll see. I think this is a test of actually using a character from the recent movie in this draft. We'll see if it actually might work for you if people start voting for you, because that was a really good portrayal in my opinion, but I just wouldn't, because I don't think everyone has seen that movie and can't make a educated decision on it.
I'm gonna hope maybe my guy stays, but I don't think it's gonna stay.
What you did, you just drafted Derrick Henry. Like, he's gonna be a superstar, but it's gonna take a couple of years because people are gonna love the TV show, I think. And then he's gonna be a character that'll show up in whatever Batman sequel they do. But yeah, you just got Derrick Henry.
Yeah, so he's getting his own show, Cobblepot?
Yes.
Oz?
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
HBO Max. Mark, your third pick.
I'm gonna go Aaron Eckhart, Two-Face.
That's a really good, powerful, also probably quotable character. My child! Yeah.
That one
he's
line,
kind of
that's funny.
annoying, and he's a
Kinda
good
hate
wild
him,
card.
actually.
But yeah. All right, I'm going to pick Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Okay.
And then my final pick, I feel like I got to do something stupid, which there are so many to choose from. Good God. I will take something stupid. No, I'm going to go with Cillian Murphy as a Scarecrow. I can't do stupid.
That's the other one I was going to pick. I was going to go Scarecrow, and then I was hoping Cobblepot would stick around for that fourth round, but I didn't think I thought he was too good of a character, honestly.
Yeah, you know what? Scarecrow was too good of a character to just throw away this pick on a silly one. The value is too good in the fourth round, if you will.
I absolutely agree.
Mark, your final pick.
I'm gonna go Ra's al Ghul. Liam Neeson's.
Yeah, he was trying to have the city taken.
I really wanted to go a different route, but I feel like we'll get into it. I think I might have gotten some pushback from the audience, some more hate for it than love.
For Raish?
No, I'll tell you my alternate one once we're finished.
Okay,
that I
fair
was
enough.
thinking of
Brick,
instead.
your last pick.
Let's see. You know what? I think I'm just gonna go with I'm gonna go with Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman.
I think that the best Catwoman was Anne Hathaway. The only one who didn't get
No.
People are either really big on her or just do not like her at all, and I don't care. I liked her setup. She wasn't leaning too hard into the cat thing, which I guess they didn't do too hard here either. But the Michelle Pfeiffer version, where she is just like literally swarmed in cats, I'm like, all right, this is a bit much. But
Agreed.
She likes strays.
all right, we'll recap. Brick went first. He got Danny DeVito, Penguin, Heath Ledger, Joker, which was stolen from Mark, Colin Farrell, Penguin, and Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman, 2 from the most recent Batman movie. Interesting. Mark got Jack Nicholson, Joker, Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman, Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face, and Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul. Did they call him Roz or Ra's in that?
Roz. They also said Carmine Falcone. And
I feel like they use
I've
those
never-
interchangeably.
The problem I have with it is I actually don't know if it's Falcone or Falcone. I think it's Falcone because you have the other mob boss Maroni and Falcone and Maroni. Is
yeah.
Yeah. It's
100% agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, and my final pick, or my 4 picks were Tom Hardy, Bane, Schwarzenegger, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker, and Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow. So
this will be interesting.
it
This
will be.
interesting.
I think most interesting part of this will be who we missed that people will scream for, like, you didn't think about this. Like, yeah, okay, we get 4 picks each. So who got left off?
I wanted to go Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn, but she technically hasn't been in a Batman film. And
Is she better than anyone who got selected?
I think people really respect her performance as Harley Quinn. I think a lot of people like her in that role.
You have the same type of argument that I made with Bane, where every girl, every Halloween wants to be Harley Quinn. So-
Daddy's little monster.
But I think there would be the Batman purist fans that would be like, she's not even in a Batman movie, which you could have said about the Joker, technically from Joaquin Phoenix.
I feel like the girls who dress up as Harley Quinn and put on the Daddy's Little Monster shirt and all that shit, they're the same ones that think that Sweet But Psycho song is about them, and they like send it to all their friends like, oh my god, this is so us. I feel like that's the Venn diagram there is very close to just a circle. But anyways, let's move on to what Mark has been waiting for quite a bit.
Dude, I didn't even see the movie yet.
I kind of figured. That fart, that wet fart, means that it's time to talk about the Batman. So this is Matt Reeves' first attempt at this Batman movie. Matt Reeves, pretty good director. He's getting a lot of leeway here. You know, he brought us the Cloverfield franchise. He did a couple of the Planet of the Apes movies, which were hit or miss, but I would say well directed. Yeah, he did the better ones, the ones that had actual action in them, not titled War that had no war. God damn it. This is currently at 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, 91% from fans. Now we're talking about the Batman, not Planet of the Apes. Can we talk about this AMC surcharge? Because that's the first time I've ever heard of anything like this, and it's kind of horseshit.
I agree. I'm an A-list member, though. I didn't even look into it because it doesn't impact me.
It didn't impact me either, but I heard about it, and it's horseshit.
Explain what it is.
I mean, it's basically just surge pricing. I'm trying to variable pricing, an extra $1 on adult tickets for the Batman at certain theaters. It's something that, something that AMC has been doing for years in Europe, and now they're trying it in the U.S. Keep your shitty European traditions out of our fucking country. This is America.
As tradition.
So we're going to throw your fucking tea into the harbor.
I would have.
Isn't it
I
kind
would
of
have
the same
appreciated
thing?
like an explanation.
Isn't it kind of like going to a matinee movie and then going to a movie at 7 o'clock? It's premium price just went up $1.
Wow, pro-capitalist brick
for inflation, right? I mean,
capitalist fucking pig.
The only time that movie theaters are gonna be making their money anyway is during those big blockbuster movies where they go and they buy the popcorn.
The $30 popcorn that is 99% margin. Yeah, I think they're doing fine.
Did they give an explanation as to why they were implementing the surcharge, or are they just
Because
like, it's worked in
fuck
Europe,
you.
we're doing it? Okay.
Because fuck you, that's why.
That's where they fucked up. Because, all right, it's one thing to have a surcharge and just say like, hey, this has worked financially for our division in Europe. But it's another thing to actually kind of convince people like, hey, there's a lot more people coming into the theater. We need to hire more staff to do cleaning and things like this. That's why we're implementing the surcharge. That, even though it's still bullshit, that would have, I feel like, went over better with people in general.
I guess. I just think it's poor practice, especially in a time when some people are struggling.
Yeah.
We'll go to Batman at a matinee.
Or you can just wait a month until it comes out on HBO Max, because it's already been announced that it'll come April 19th. I wrote that down, which is a very quick turnaround. I do want to talk about how it's done in the box office, though, because it is the second largest post-COVID, I guess, if you want to call it that even. It's the second largest opening other than Spider-Man, which, by the way, the surcharge, even with that, this did 130 million roughly, and Spider-Man was still more than double that in their first weekend. So that it's doing really well, which is great, because I need movie theaters to keep putting movies out. But yeah, not quite as good as the Spider-Man flick.
I think that also makes sense, though, because Spider-Man, it appealed to a bigger audience and was for a larger audience, because you can actually bring your kid. I would not recommend bringing your kid. I think that was made clear on a lot of people's reviews, is like, this is super dark. Don't bring it. Don't bring your children here that are under 10 years old, 12 years old, whatever.
I saw a lot of kids in my theater. It was a Thursday night at 7:30, and I saw a couple like 5-6-year-olds. Like,
really?
All right. Luckily, they were nice, quiet kids. But Brick, what was your movie theater experience like?
I had, it was okay. I had literally just an old fat guy and his date, just like, oh, we just moved up to your seats, because I had the middle section of the main row, and I was like, we would be sitting next to each other when they're in a huge open theater. Like, dude, you could just move, right? You can request the seats. We didn't care. We just went sit down and went up a row.
Did he like keep tapping you on the foot, because he might have been trying to have a threesome with you?
Right. Well, he actually would, like, during parts of the movie, he'd go like, or like, I was like, all right, dude, just shut the hell up.
I think maybe the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie theater was when I went to see Rampage, and I brought Erica with me, and I had to fart really bad. And it was during the climax of the movie, and I waited until it got super quiet in the theater, and I just let it rip. And like 4 people on either side of us just turned to go. And Erica was just mortified. That's probably the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie theater.
Even with it being the climax, why wouldn't you walk out of the theater, you piece of shit?
Because I knew it would be hilarious.
No, because there's a moment that you know what you can do. 2 choices: be a human being, or leave and fart outside. Just fucking let her rip.
Or in terms of the Batman, you can be vengeance, or you can now be hope.
I can be vengeance, or I can be justice. This day I chose vengeance.
Oh my god, you piece of shit.
All right. I don't know what made me think of that, but anyways.
I want to mention 2 things in the chat. First one being from Elise. I didn't actually know they were doing this in Europe. Elise says, I'll take the surcharge for long movie, or take the surcharge on long movies, but give me an intermission like Europe. I was thinking about that. Why the hell haven't we started doing intermissions for these types of movies?
I've been calling
it would increase sales. It would increase sales, let people go take a piss, and then most likely they'll be like, I'll go get a Coke now because I don't have to pee.
Exactly. It's more opportunities to get you in the lobby of a movie theater. I don't know.
Whatever. And then we had Joe saying maybe the longer movies, 3 hours plus, change more because they can't use those theaters as much that day. That makes sense. The lot of time they need to use that theater because the movie's long.
I've been to plenty of 3+ hour movies that don't do that.
Yeah.
And what is with you people fighting on the side of people charging us more money?
We're just trying to rationalize it because
Yeah.
it's tough out there, you know.
Aren't you the only stockholder too?
I dumped it
You're
a long
bitching
time
about
ago.
this?
No.
Did you?
And plus, their stock price is not tied to their sales, so don't worry about that. Maybe that's a finance fun topic for next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's talk about this actual Batman movie, though. I think I'll just wait and go last. Mark, I know that you really want to talk about this, so just give me your overall thoughts.
I like the casting a lot more than I thought I would. There were specific characters that I thought were great, and I can't wait to see more of them. I think the movie accomplished a lot. It did not need to be 3 hours. And I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I'm going to say see it.
Rick?
Okay. I liked the ambiance that they created in the movie. The score was good. They had like a beating war drum, and you kind of felt uneasy with this Batman compared to other Batmans, which is nice. And they start out with like Ave Maria, the song going in the background, and then just like a lot of gothic architecture in the scenery was cool. I think and plus I kind of like what they did with the colors, because at times it almost felt like this was a black and white movie with some of the like lighting stuff that they did, but it was cool because it gave like a comic book silhouette kind of vibe with it, because it was kind of like a noir, like psychological thriller, and they like when there were lights, they were prominent. It was like prominently one color.
It's a big switch from the black and blue dark to the bright red.
Right.
That was very intentional, very well done, I think. Yeah.
And they did like with the green as well. When they were talking about the Riddler, they would do lights of green when they're I think it worked well because of the noir vibe that it gave off. Good level of psycho, but realism. All of his like gadgets I felt were really kind of based in reality to a certain degree. Like he did a lot of like weight shifting with his like bat grappling hook to like take guys down. He did things like smartly and efficiently. It felt like it was a real kind of Batman
grounded.
for what. Yeah, there you go.
The opposite of what Ben Affleck Batman was.
Right, exactly, and that's what you like. That's what I personally like about the Batman character himself, is just it's grounded. These could happen to a certain degree in real life. Like he had a shocker on his bat suit to like in the first initial scene when he was fighting. What were those Joker goons? You think? Like one of them was like half in, half out, and it was it's half painted face, like a little gang. That could be the Joker's nod I felt early on. I just think they did good with some characters, but some other characters felt flat, which I'll talk about later. What do you think, Smithers?
I was very middle of the road on this. I don't necessarily think that it does anything that any other Batman movie hasn't already given us. We've seen Origin Batman. This is kind of they do specifically say this is year 2 Batman. Not that it particularly matters. This pulls from a lot of different source materials, heavily influenced by Long Halloween, but also a lot of that year 1 style stuff, particularly with the Riddler specifically. I think, Mark, you can correct anything that you think is out of line. But I also think that any Batman portrayal is only as good as his villain. And I fucking hated Paul Dano in this.
Wow. Okay.
So that
Why?
sucks. He's just an internet dork.
Isn't that kind of what Enigma does, though, to a certain degree? Is he's kind of off and away and setting all these elaborate traps and riddles, and then just like mind games.
To kill 3 people, though, like okay, I know this isn't the shining example that I'm gonna paint it as, but Jim Carrey as the Riddler was trying to mind control the entire planet. This guy kills like 3 leaders in a city, and everybody's so terrified. It's not a problem that he's a dork. I just think it's the specific portrayal here and what they asked him to do with his extended screaming and dumb shit. It didn't land for me, and I didn't like it at all.
Okay.
That's it. I'm
don't
not
you-
going to say that the movie was bad because I did like Pattinson. I liked Zoe Kravitz. I could have used more Colin Farrell, honestly. John Turturro is pretty good as the untouchable dude. I liked him a lot as the one of the larger villains. He is Falcone, Carmine Falcone. Yeah, the way it's shot, the scene specifically with the muzzle flares, that is the entire lighting for the scene, so it's interspersed and goes pitch black during, and you see the silhouettes fighting is brilliantly done. I didn't love the score, mostly because it was a version of one of three things. Brick mentioned Ave Maria. The other was the saddest, most boring Nirvana song of all time that just gets spread out. And then the other one was just drums. It was good. It was really moody and dark and brooding, but Pattinson was just kind of emo. And I liked his portrayal when he was Batman. His Bruce Wayne wasn't there for me. And I hated that he was a dick to Alfred.
I think the one character that fell really flat for me was Alfred. It was just because their relationship sucked. It was like the first thing Batman says to Alfred was right after like a huge accident. It was just like, "You lied to me." Like, all right.
Yeah.
But I guess
Are
that
you
is kind
okay?
of
Can I get you
Batman.
anything? Can I call a nurse? No,
Well,
fuck
that
you.
is
This is
kinda
more important.
Brooding Batman. I guess that kind of makes sense. But his face when he was like being serious and talking just was literally nothingness. But I guess that is supposed to be like Batman. He doesn't really show emotion, right?
He's pathological, yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't like it for that reason, but at the same time, then I think about it, I'm like, all right, that is what Batman does, I guess.
I think there's something we need to talk about specifically, which is the Batmobile. Because this is
Why don't you rate it first?
I'm sorry. All right, this is the part where you yell at me.
Do it.
This comes out April 19th on HBO Max. Wait and see it then, so you can just save it.
Save it. Brick.
See it.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the Batmobile.
Yeah. So it's based on an old Lincoln, and nothing about it is necessarily bad. It just doesn't do anything that great, and it has a jet engine on it for no apparent reason, and it still goes through gears like it has a combustion engine. It's dumb, and you can tell, like, it's intimidating, but it also just looks like, have you ever seen somebody buy like a Dodge Neon and put gigantic fucking tires on it? It felt like that. And it just wasn't as cool as it could have been. I was so excited in the very, very beginning of this movie. They did an overhead shot, and he had a complete disassembled top end of an engine. It had the valves and the pistons and all that shit out. And I was like, fuck yes, this is going to be super. Batman's going to be into it. He's going to be like the mechanic trying to figure this out. And he kind of is eventually, but Brick, you mentioned on the pre-stream, the Batmobile was just like conveniently in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, because I feel like they rode motorcycles to the spot at night, like, and they were in kind of a rush, and then all of a sudden he just was like, the Batmobile was there. But I guess that just kind of happens with Batman too, doesn't it? He just fucking.
And another thing, if you make a broody movie, it doesn't have to rain every day. At one point early in the movie, Batman is trying to follow Zoe Kravitz, and they're both on motorcycles in the pouring fucking rain. Like, you wouldn't notice somebody else following you on a motorcycle when you're the only people on motorcycles because it's pouring fucking rain.
Mm-hmm. I actually think this movie did this better than any other Batman movie that we've seen, is the portrayal of what Gotham is, how shitty Gotham truly is, which we've never. The movie's done an okay job. I mean, Keaton's Batman movie, they did.
Batman Begins kind of did. You know, he
Batman
goes under
Begins
that bridge and gives the guy his coat.
But like, this is a very polluted city, which I would attribute to rain, because when there's a shit ton of pollution, doesn't it rain all the time? Just get rid of that shit.
Plus, when you're up by
But-
the water, there's 15-minute snow showers all the time. Not snow showers, but like just where it powers down rain constantly when you're living by the water.
I was
Regardless,
put
trying
my
to make
finger
sense
on
of that or not, but yeah.
where, because some of the shots looked like Chicago. Some of them were definitely out in London. I was really trying to piece together where they made this fucking movie, but I agree with you. The setting was really well done on this. Having to go into the slums and seeing shit like that, yeah, it's.
And then it had that like Blade Runner type city center feel, and I thought that was cool too. Like that Times Square looking, but still
Gotham Square
really
Garden, yeah,
really crappy area of town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that how
No, I
Madison
think-
Square Garden is built into the ground?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Not like close enough. You guys got to defend the Riddler to me.
Hold on. Back to the Batmobile real quick, though. Would you have appreciated the Batmobile a little bit more if you would have had those scenes with Pattinson actually assembling it himself? Because you kind of get the vibe that this is a 2-year Batman. So this Batman, it has this not so good relationship with Alfred yet. You know, he's kind of like, this is what I'm trying to do. It's all about vengeance. It's all about getting back at the people that screwed his life up, that took his parents away, yada yada. But would you have appreciated it more if we had a better understanding of like, hey, Pattinson is the one, you know, putting all of this together just by himself? Like if there were scenes of him actually doing mechanical work on the Batmobile.
That
Or
would
did
just first of all, it wouldn't make it a better movie, definitely, because then it would just be longer, and that would make it worse. But also, I get what you mean. That's just pandering to me, and most like the general population probably doesn't give a shit about that. But yeah, I would appreciate it. Like, show me that he's the engineer, because he's supposed to be that way for all of his gadgets. He builds everything that he does. So yeah, I wanted more of that.
I did particularly like the actual car chase that was in. It was a little butt clenching, and at the very end, like it showed a lot of Cobblepot, which was like his reaction, his like first kind of meetings with the Batman, and he's just in this wild fucking car chase. He's like building up an actual gripe that he's like, that motherfucking Batman, he's always doing something to me. He's just trying to like run a business, even though he's a criminal, obviously, but like he's like helping him out where he is, but he's just like getting chased down by his fucking psycho Batmobile. I thought it I like the scene itself.
I felt like that scene was completely unnecessary in this movie, and part of the reason why this movie was too long.
It needed more action. I think that's my one gripe with it, is it was made for like a psychological thriller, but I wanted still more Batman like fighting people, because his punches, I felt like Robert Pattinson's punches were fast. They looked fast comparatively to everyone else. It just like looked clean,
which is impressive considering the suit he wore, because that looked pretty heavy.
Yeah. So I like some of the combat features that they had with it. And also, like, I like how the gadgets, nothing really, like, you got, each gadget, like, had its own little moment. Like, he had the bat suit, I guess, where you, like, kind of intensely, like, just used it and flew down from the city from, like, the first-person view. And then he had the one scene with the Batmobile. And then he had, like, a scene where he used, like, one gadget per fight. And then he, like, I don't know, it just seemed like each thing had its own specific moment, which is why everything was so long. But I feel like more action would have been great.
I did appreciate that Pattinson is Batman. I loved his Batman, didn't like his Bruce Wayne, because his Batman just walks right in the iceberg lounge and starts beating the fuck out of people.
Yeah.
That's what I want more of.
I think Batman fans should just appreciate the fighting scenes in general, because if you look back, we had a nice fighting scene with Affleck, which was the warehouse scene that everyone was talking about, but that was literally the only scene that we had.
He's too
in that
old,
movie,
man. He can't do that shit.
He was too old. Christian Bale, the one thing that I loved about Pattinson's Batman is, and maybe this isn't because of him, maybe it's because of the direction of Matt Reeves, but it was the way that the fighting was shot. And everyone that loves The Dark Knight, I feel like, has to admit the fighting and the fighting scenes in those, it was elbowing Batman. That's all it was. It wasn't that great. So I think what we had in this was phenomenal. We could have had more, but I did like the direction of the story, which was actually telling the story, which I think was a little bit too long. But in the end, I think it was one of the best told Batman on-screen stories of where it was focusing on his detective work, which we don't get a lot of in other live action portrayals. And it was actually showing people like, you guys maybe not read the comics and think that Batman is all about, you know, saving people and getting in a fight with goons and protecting the city of Gotham. But a lot of the time it's being the greatest detective ever. It's doing this detective work, which I really appreciated about this movie.
That scene specifically where he first gets introduced and Gordon and him were in the house, like looking up clues. His walk, it was like a slow and like unstable like walk. Like this guy's a fucking loose cannon because of just like how he was walking, and just like it was kind of eerie and slow, but he was like supposed to be walking slow because he's like taking in a crime scene. But it was like eerie and just like dark. And I liked his portrayal in that regard too. It was like an unsettling Batman.
They use that several times. Great in the opening scene as well, when he's explaining how he puts fear into people. The scene where they're about to jump that dude and his footsteps rang out for 10 seconds or more at least. And that was very intimidating. So I agree, Mark. It was very well directed. And I know it sounds like I'm shitting all over this movie. I do think it had good qualities. I would go back to my main point where it's Batman is as good as his villain, and I don't think that this villain was good.
So to start with Paul Dano, I actually kind of liked what he did with the Riddler, especially in the interrogation scene when he's in Arkham, or in the he's in Arkham Asylum, isn't he, in the holding. But I do feel like he was extending a little bit, like he was trying to reach for something that he didn't really need to do. Like there were times where he's like, the way he smiled and the way he just reacted to certain things that Batman said, I thought were great. But when he started to kind of mold in this like Joker type feel, I was like, I could kind of do without it. He really went that, like, there were scenes where, yes, that is the Riddler, but I also felt like he's trying to go way too psychotic and not as like manipulative. I'm not even gonna try to say it because I can't.
He's the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Like that's his thing.
Yes.
And I don't really know how to say this without just saying it, but it felt like they were like, okay, do what an autistic person does. And that was just like, you end up yelling because you're upset because you don't have that control. And I don't know. The whole thing just didn't feel portrayed correctly. And the whole like, oh, it's a message board. Yeah, I get it. You know, you're trying to keep up with the times. It just didn't feel right to me. You know what? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I also think you have to realize this is year 2. A lot of shit people hold within themselves in 2 years. I mean, look at what we'd had to deal with as people. Fucking COVID. It's like 2 years isn't that long, or it might not seem long to people.
Already planning the murder of both of you.
Yeah. So this is a year 2 Batman. To start off with his with Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, he doesn't know how to be Bruce Wayne. All he knows is how to be Batman, which I think it's hard for people to realize that. With Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne, people love that because, yes, that is Batman putting on this facade, putting on this act of being Bruce Wayne, when deep down he knows, I'm Batman. This is who I am. But this Bruce Wayne, in my opinion, didn't know how to be Bruce Wayne. Only knew how to be Batman for now. And that's what I think, that's what I'm looking forward to most about this movie, is what we have to look forward to in the future, is if they continue this. And I don't think this is going to be part of the DCEU. I don't think they're going to tie in Pattinson with the DCEU. I think they're going to kind of be like, we're going to keep this separate for now. We'll figure that out down the road, but we want to focus on the success of this franchise. So I think with this younger cast, not that young, I don't know, mid-30s, whatever, but still, they look younger. They're not Ben Affleck. I think with that fact, being able to continue this franchise, we'll get there. We'll get to where hopefully Robert Pattinson, his Batman, his Bruce Wayne, realizes like, I need to start being Bruce Wayne. And I think that's what we got a sense of at the end. It's like, I was all about vengeance. Now I need to start being a symbol of hope for the city. I need to, And I think we started to see that, but I think people are missing the point that this is what they were going for in this movie. This Bruce Wayne that didn't know how to be in public yet with people, because all he was he cared about was being Batman. He would be in daylight. He needed to put on sunglasses because he just only cared about Batman and pursuing that right now.
It's not that I don't get what they were going for as much as it is that I just don't I don't like it.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. But I think we're going to get it is what I'm saying. I think hopefully we'll hear about a second movie, and I think they're going to take it in that direction where we see this change of Bruce Wayne actually putting on the act of billionaire Bruce Wayne.
Let's compare this to Batman Begins. Which one was a better first movie, you think? Batman Begins, or
for me, Begins, yeah.
Because Ra's al Ghul was a better villain, you think?
He definitely was, and I think that you got the same issues of Bruce Wayne learning how to be Batman, but he also, like Mark said, was able to put on the facade that was, you know, I'm the billionaire playboy. I just bought your restaurant. Fuck you, I'll play in your fountain. So I like that version a lot more than this one.
Than the one who just doesn't know how to deal with his emotions, so he just kind of stays in shuttered.
I mean, Christian Bale didn't know how to deal with his emotions either, so that's why he went out and beat up people with mental health problems. And I mean, yeah, it's not necessarily that one way is right or the other one is wrong. In my opinion,
yeah, I think with it being a more grounded Batman, to Brick's point, and this really tries to do a good job at being like, this could actually happen, like this city and what goes on in it could actually be real life, but also being from the early development stage. It's like with Riddler, he's not going to have all these huge technical riddles thought out already. He's focused on this one that has a huge impact. I'm not really a big fan of the whole water supply thing. Again, I think they keep reusing that. But at the same time, it's like I'm kind of understanding, like, yeah, he only has 500 followers. Like, this is the early stages of these characters, early stage of Batman, early stage of Riddler. Maybe we'll see it down the road of them becoming this, you know, this bigger figure with a different suit, with a different costume, whatever. So that's kind of my take on it.
The Riddler was a twin, right? Or no?
I don't know what you mean.
Because wasn't he the last Riddler guy who was going to point in the head? He was pointing a shotgun at Batman's head at the very top. And like,
no, that wasn't him.
Are you sure?
That was a different guy.
Different guy altogether? Okay. Because, I mean,
he looked kind of similar. I'll give you that.
They all wore the same masks and saran wrap and shit.
When he got arrested at the counter at like after the third murder or whatever, he like showed two IDs. Who, like, couldn't he technically be a twin, and that last guy was the other? I'm pretty sure
those were just fakes because they had different last names on them.
Okay, I don't know. I thought the guy who, like, it just looked so similar, and he had the actual mask at the very end.
I just thought it was funny that he was basically, his sign off was a vlog, and he was like, "Thanks, guys." He did the thing, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Which is the effective way of indoctrinating people to go murder some innocent civilians and try and kill the mayor.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other characters real quick. Or go ahead.
Okay. Do you think that the Riddler was hinting at Court of Owls?
I think the whole Arkham backstory with the Waynes was doing that a little bit better. But what do you mean by the Riddler specifically?
Well, he is talking about, I know specifically in this case, it was a specific instance where Thomas Wayne did something maybe that he shouldn't have. But I think that they're going to get into the ties of that. And I also noticed that the very first card that he wrote to Batman was an owl on the cover. And I feel as though that's pretty intentional.
And he was talking to the Two-Face in jail, right?
That had to be Joker.
Yeah, well, now we're talking about spoilers, so we might want to throw something up. But
I mean, I don't necessarily. Is that really a spoiler? My argument about
he is in IMDb, but
this
go
movie
ahead.
Not doing anything new that we haven't seen before, like that, I don't think there was any kind of twist or anything unexpected. I would argue that 95% of people, had you asked, would go into this, and if you asked them before, are they going to allude to the Joker in some way, they would all say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can the Joker be tied in? Can Joaquin Phoenix's Joker be tied into this universe?
They can do whatever the fuck they want. They own all the rights.
Would you want that Joker, or would you want a new one?
I'm good on that one. I think we saw exactly what we needed to see out of it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
agree with that.
I would like them to throw in a different villain. He has
They don't
so
need to
many
just
great
do
another
villains.
Joker movie.
I thought. Can we talk about it?
Talk about whatever you want.
We are.
I thought it was Two-Face in the jail.
I mean, it could have been.
No,
it doesn't have to
because
be
not.
either.
Because he had half of his head was shaved, and the other half had the long hair on it, and he had like a drooping fucking face, drooping like teeth at the bottom.
He had some type of smile thing going on. I can guarantee you that was supposed to be Joker. Yeah.
And
They can do whatever they want. It doesn't matter either way.
Didn't the Riddler and Two-Face work together in like that with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones? Was that the same one?
There was no Riddler in that, if that's what you're asking, or Joker in that, if that's what you're asking.
What I'm saying, the Enigma and Two-Face have a history together, is what I'm saying.
I mean, all of Batman's villains at some point work together.
No, fair enough.
You
I can
can
guarantee you
legitimately
they're not.
point to a comic for anything.
I can guarantee you they weren't like, hey, they did it in Batman Forever or whatever. Let's do it in this one.
They are not
Right.
trying to replicate that movie.
Right.
But Smithers, back to like the Easter egg thing. The only reason why I'm a little hesitant on like it would make sense. Court of Owls, that's an earlier Gotham type villain story, and it would be a good one. But they did have a lot of references. Like there was one letter that was written to Batman where they started opening up the mystery about the reporter, that was gonna unwrap the stuff about Martha Wayne and stuff like that. But they put Hush because the reporter's name was Edward Elliot, which is Thomas Elliot Hush's great grandpa or whatever. So there was a lot of Easter eggs in there that could make you think like there was the Venom scene where he injects some stuff with this green shit Batman at the end of the movie and gives him this kind of adrenaline rush where you could be like, oh, is that a Bane reference? I don't know. It's fun to speculate, and comic book readers are going to do that all day, but who knows?
There'll be a million think pieces on this between now and the next one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I will one more time just reiterate that people are mentioning the DCEU and this universe, how it's going to work.
He's too grounded in reality. They already did. They've already established what his physical limitations are.
This is Batman. They don't need to put this Batman in a Flash movie. They can set up this own world of these younger, really good actors to continue this franchise. And then later on, maybe DCEU kind of comes to an end. Maybe we don't get Momoa Aquaman anymore. Maybe it just doesn't work. And then they have this already to kind of reset things or continue things and bring in a new Aquaman in this Pattinson universe. But
totally fine.
I can guarantee you this is not going to be a DCEU type thing with these movies.
Next thing to be announced tomorrow, it'll be Joaquin Phoenix joins the Batman with Pattinson to go to space.
Yeah, with Peacekeeper, they just tie everything in.
Yeah, and I like this grounded universe. I think you both touched on it pretty well when you were talking about your thoughts. And yeah, Brick, you mentioned he's just getting started. He doesn't have the ridiculous gadgets, and Mark, you nailed it too. So yeah, that's something they got right. I'm not saying they didn't get anything right about this movie. I just thought it could have been better and 45 minutes shorter.
I agree. I think it definitely could have been shorter. I'm going to still say see it. I liked what they did. It's that.
Level of jackness,
thoughts
Mark,
on this
before we go. Level of jackness. Considering it's Batman year 2.
He's still an early Batman, dude. He's got time to get more jacked. He's not that jacked. Let's be honest.
He's not. The villain wasn't jacked. Nobody was jacked.
That's the one downfall right here. Damn.
You gotta have a jacked Batman.
Yeah.
Brick, was everyone crazy enough for you?
I would say there was a sufficient amount of psycho. I did love the thumb drive riddle to start out. It just kind of was like practical. It like made sense. And it was like simple enough where it was like, oh, duh. And it's crazy enough where it's like, that's a psycho thing to do. But Colin Farrell was the best character, I thought.
Yeah, he was good. Unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable, but he was a fucking awesome. I love the way that their direction that they're going with Cobblepot. Like he looked like a fucking Penguin too, with the scars, the beak nose, the gold teeth, the attitude himself. It was just like, I loved the way that they kind of introduced that character. I'm looking forward to more of that.
I noticed that none of us have mentioned Commissioner Gordon Jeffrey Wright because he
He
was
was awesome
also a
too.
very forgettable character.
I liked the scene, especially when he was like in the actual police department, and he's like, "You need to get out of here," and then they just escape. And he's like, "You could have at least pulled your punch, dude." Like,
He punches him.
Batman
Yeah.
does bullshit.
yeah, there was some
They-
good subtle humor there that I appreciated too from him.
They used their one fuck. It was one of the cops early in the movie. I don't remember the exact context, but they did use it, so props to them for that.
Hell yeah! Now it's Batman.
I thought Jeffrey Wright wasn't. I kind of liked how he did Commissioner Gordon, but I just
So do I.
feel like he's always like people. He's not forgettable, but people always just don't give him that much credit. They're like, "Oh yeah, Jeffrey Wright was in this, and he was actually pretty good." I don't know.
I don't think
It's-
that's. I love him as an actor. I'm not saying he did a bad job. It's just
Yeah,
maybe it's the way they wrote it. I thought he was forgettable, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
none of us mentioned him at all. So
Well, we barely mentioned like Catwoman, but she did a good job as Catwoman, I felt.
Krisky mentioned Catwoman quite a bit, so I
Oh,
think we covered
nice.
that. All right, final thoughts on this before we wrap up.
I think that's about. I'm good.
Mark, you got nothing else? I really thought you guys were
No.
gonna. Wow.
oh, it's a little long. Do not go see this movie after a 9-hour workday of just staring at a screen because your eyes will almost melt.
I saw it at 4:50. Perfect. Was out by like
And
Out by
7.
9:30.
Yeah, right.
it is completely different. You don't need to be a comic book reader by any means to go see this, but don't expect to be seeing The Dark Knight. Stop comparing it. Stop reading those goddamn articles on comicbook.com about The Dark Knight or this movie and what they both do. This
You
is
should be
not The Dark
comparing
Knight
it.
at
Yeah,
all.
you should be comparing it to, if you're going to compare it to something, it would be Batman Begins, not The Dark Knight, because everyone goes straight to the apex of the whole story. The second movie.
I mean,
The second
that's
movie should-
natural though, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah, I still disagree because the Batman Begins they had a different vision of, hey, this Bruce Wayne is already gonna know he needs to be Bruce Wayne, the billionaire, and Batman. This Batman is more of just so infatuated with becoming the Batman at night and doesn't care about him being Bruce Wayne at all. They're already doing different things with this from the beginning of
Yes.
the Batman arc, I'll call it. So I
Agreed.
still wouldn't compare Batman Begins with this at all. They're different movies. Just
Okay.
understand that, and don't bring your kids to this, and know that this is going to focus on Batman from a detective aspect of all things.
Psychological thriller.
The Nirvana was so bad. Okay, yeah, that's. I can't listen to it anymore. It's just so on the nose and heavy-handed and so stupid.
Okay. I'm taking a shit, boys.
All right, see you
Jump
later.
out.
Thanks for
Right,
tuning in to
right.
episode 285. Everybody, we'll wrap this up. Next weekend is that Ryan Reynolds time travel movie on Netflix.
Bitchin'.
So that'll be great for
All right.
everybody to watch and hopefully tune in along with us. Brick, go ahead. You
Wrap
can
it
find us
up,
on all
boy.
social media
Gotcha.
platforms at the Chumpcast. You can also call or text us at 847-920-6107. Mark, you got something coming, right?
Do I? What are you talking about?
Didn't you promote something that was coming soon on your YouTube?
Oh yeah. This is just a monthly thing. Well, if you're a comic book reader, I started making videos where they're videos to help me out and just understand what new issues are coming out, mainly just like new series, so #1 issues. So especially this is a nice thing for people that are trying to get into a new comic book arc, a new storyline. So I'm just listing off all the #1 issues that are going to be dropping and hitting shelves for that particular month. Go check it out. It's on my Mark Nerdy AF YouTube channel.
There you go. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will catch you next week. And until then.
Jumps out, motherfucker.